Welcome to Raiders Roundtable, presented by America First Credit Union. Q Myers is here as always. I'm JT. Lincoln Kennedy coming up in Q2 in a row. The Raiders are now rolling. They got momentum, and I think that's the most important story around this team. Keep the momentum going.
There's no doubt. And win the games you're supposed to win, right? And no one's going to say that the Packers or the Patriots are the best teams in the league, but they're teams that the Raiders definitely should win, and they did. And they got those 2 wins in a row. Now they're sitting there at 500, and after the Chargers lose on Monday Night Football, they're sitting there in second place in the AFC West.
There's a lot of teams that are in chaos right now.
Yeah.
A lot of teams that are not where the Raiders are. And for the Raiders, I don't think it's perfect. The offense needs to get going. But the defense, overall, we have the opportunity now every week to talk about a defense that's turning the ball over, making plays, and quite frankly, winning games.
Right, and that was the emphasis, right, in the offseason and training camp and preseason. Create turnovers, get to the quarterback, and now they're starting to do that. Trayvon Merrick has had multiple interceptions. Amik Robertson has an interception to close out a game. And then you see Max Crosby and Bilal Nichols meet at the quarterback and close out a game. And apparently that end zone's a really good end zone for the Raiders defense. They come up with big plays in there to close out games.
They needed to win that game because Jimmy G got hurt. It was pretty serious. They took him to the hospital. Everything seems to be coming back okay. But as we record the podcast, we don't know if he's going to play or not.
Right.
And I think this is a huge topic. 6 quarterbacks got hurt last week, either removed from the game, taken to the blue tent locker room, tried to come back. So a lot of quarterbacks are hurt. I just hope if Jimmy G can go, he goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he can't go, protect him.
Yep.
Anything internal, I always say, you don't need to play. But
No.
if he can go, maybe we get some good news. Now, here is Michael Mayer. If you're watching on YouTube, you see the video here. He was a beast early on, and these are those classic scripted plays that they work here in Henderson that clearly worked on the first drive.
It really did. And, Michael Mayer is a guy that you can hear it in his voice. He's a lot more confident. And he said it a couple weeks ago. He felt like he was about to be a bigger part of the offense. And you're starting to see, 3 targets on the very first drive. And when he gets the ball, it's not just a catch and go down. It's a catch and I'm trying to run through your face. And that's what he's trying to do. He has a little bit of nimble moves for a tight end. So I like what the rookie's doing, and I think he's just going to get better and better.
And a lot of guys here are getting limited targets. It's only because there's one football. It's not on purpose. So he's getting limited targets and taking advantage of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you have to do. When you get the opportunity to get your hands on the ball, you've got to make the best of it. You can't put the ball on the ground, as we just saw on YouTube. DeAndre Carter put one on the ground that probably would have walked into the end zone if he catches it, but he tried to run before he caught it.
Well, the Raiders put up 3. They took 3 off the board, put up 3 again.
Yeah.
They were 1 of 6 in the red zone. That is absolutely unacceptable. The red zone offense, surprisingly, has been a problem all year long. They haven't been able to fix it, and I don't know how they're going to be able to fix it without Jimmy G.
I don't either, and that's been the big surprise for this team as far as I'm concerned, because I thought going into the season that this offense was going to be the strength of the team, and so far the defense has been the strength, and the offense is still trying to play catch-up, and the red zone is the big struggle.
You mentioned before we started, here's Devontae getting blown up on that play.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the hits he's taken this year, this guy comes back. I'm convinced he's going to come back and play after these hits. Some of these hits he's taken, players would be out for weeks at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. He got hit so hard by Jabril Peppers. I'm in the press box like, ow, right? That hurt me just watching in the press box. So he goes out, goes to the blue tent, and comes right back.
This touchdown is very important if we can stay with this and see this. This touchdown to Jakobi Meyers is everything you and I have been talking about on the upside of the Raiders. He was wide open. Jimmy G threw a great ball. The pocket was clean. This is what's supposed to continually happen in the red zone.
You have to throw the ball into the end zone, and that's something that I was excited about when Jimmy G signed, because that's all I've heard is that he throws the ball really well into the end zone. That's how you score points. That's how you get touchdowns as opposed to having to kick field goals.
And then Mac Jones came out there, and look, I think the guy is a really good guy overall with his pedigree. I actually sat with his father. His father, mom and dad were at the game. Really nice people, and they were just watching him and cringing every time he got hit. The pass rush was amazing here. The Raiders should have been up at this point 17-3. They're up to 10-3. And right at this moment, Q, I hated the math. I was doing the math. Patriots going to get the ball. And then I'm starting to do the math going, oh, no. But there's a Merrick interception here. This was classic. Ball was thrown to him. He didn't drop it. He caught it. He got upfield. And this is a bad throw by Hoyer. Just overthrew the tight end who was there. Merrick just caught it right in his gut and went north-south on that play. Needs to do a better job of securing it at the end of the play, but still I'll take advantage of what he did here. And I thought that was the key. The turnovers keep coming.
Yeah, they are. And the Raiders are going to look for the ball. And Trayvon, I talked to him in the locker room each and every time after the game. And, this guy's catching interceptions with a club on his hand. So he's doing a really good job securing the ball as he's put a couple on the ground in his career, but he's getting more comfortable as well.
And Jimmy's very comfortable with Jacoby Myers.
Very.
You can tell at this point.
Yep.
So Jimmy's taking shots here. Look at some of these throws. This got lost in the game when I hosted the post game. Everybody was talking, where's Hunter? What's happening with that?
Right.
Jimmy made some really good throws to put this team up 13-3, even though the Raiders were coming up short in the red zone. I like the chemistry. I like the way Jimmy was zipping the ball. I thought he was playing well and was going to have a really good game.
I thought he was as well. I just felt like this was one of those games where you look at what's going on, the defense, the way that they're playing, you feel like the game is a blowout, right? And then you look up and you realize it's not because of those struggles in the red zone. But I thought overall the Raiders were executing really well in that first half.
And the Patriots were just going to grind it out. Their game plan was to run the ball if they could. Raiders were going to have to stop the run, and then Mac Jones would only throw on third down and conservative plays. But when they got into the end zone here and the math went to 13-10,
right,
we're halfway through the third quarter.
Yeah.
Halfway through the quarter, this game was not secure at this point. Here's where Hoyer comes in, the throw that everybody's talking about to Tucker, a beautiful ball.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful ball. And this is why Tucker was brought in to make plays like this.
Yeah, he's got that speed, and you can't teach it. You just have it. And he's a guy that can stretch the field. You've seen him on jet sweeps, and now you're seeing a deep shot. And that was a 48-yard pass. That was the longest pass play for the Raiders this season.
And as we see here on YouTube, the free safety bit on Devontae.
Yep.
So he came up to cover
Shocking.
double team Devontae
right.
and left him wide open. Another great throw and catch by Michael Mayer there by Hoyer. I want to say this about Hoyer. He didn't manage the game.
Right.
He won the game.
Right.
That throw was from a confident quarterback at the time who can make a throw like that. Raiders settle for a field goal here to go up 16-10, and then you just had to hope that the defense would dominate the rest of the way.
Right, and the defense came up big, right? When they knew that they had to come up big for the second week in a row, they were able to get that done, and that's what has really impressed me, and I've been calling it the strength of the team. They knew that it was going to be a challenge. They knew and they heard everything that people said, that the defense can't do this, the defense can't do that, and each and every week they go out and prove what they can do.
That's a hooper catch there. That was a big, big catch at that time. Brings the Raiders to 3rd and goal. I don't like that. I don't like throwing the ball out of bounds.
Right.
I don't like it. I don't like throwing the ball out of bounds. That's an uncatchable ball.
Right.
So you could tell that Hoyer did not want to turn it over. Smart play because the Raiders go up by 2 scores.
Right, and on that sequence, I would have liked to seen 2 throws into the end zone, not thrown out of bounds, and it was only 1. It was 2 run plays to Jacobs and then the throw out of bounds. So it really wasn't, in my opinion, it was kind of a give-up drive, but they scored the 3 points, and luckily the defense came up big.
I thought the Raiders at this point, and this is not a knock on anybody, they were just trying to survive.
Yeah.
They were not going to try to extend the lead here. They were looking just to play defense and find a way. Spillane misses an interception there that he really should have had.
Yep.
Look at this. Spillane jumps the route. It hits him in the hands, goes through. Patriots make the catch on that play, and they're knocking on the door. There's 3:40 to go in the game, and then the swing pass to the outside. Good tackling by the Raiders on 3rd and goal, but here we go, roughing the passer.
Yeah.
Another mistake here, and I look at it, and if you're watching this, Max makes an unbelievable move. He does hit him late. I think he got the roughing because he went above the shoulder pads. Didn't hit him in the head, but it looked that way. And then the Patriots pounded in there to make it a really close game now, 19-17.
You know, and to Max's credit, he's told everybody on the team that, hey, I let you down, I'll get it back. And so he knew that and he had to take that accountability.
One of the biggest plays of the game there, A.J. Cole.
Yes.
One of the biggest plays of the game by the Pro Bowler there, not to kick it into the end zone, not to make a mistake. Patriots go deep, hits him right in the hands, and he drops it.
Right.
Thank God he dropped it. I mean, didn't hit his fingertips, as he said, hit him in the hands.
Right.
Would have been a tough catch. Good to see Epps there on the play.
Yeah, exactly. And it was one of those that could have been a game changer, right, if he comes up with it, but he didn't, and then the game changer came on the next play.
This is the signature play of the year, as I've been saying all week on Raider Nation Radio. We finally have a play cue that we can move to number 1.
Yeah.
This is the number 1 play of the entire season. Bilal Nichols deserves to get his credit too. Max was there. Max finishes the game that way. And Josh McDaniels is 3-0 against Bill Belichick.
Right, and, you know, he's had a lot of success, and, you know, he doesn't make a big deal of it, at least publicly he doesn't make a big deal of going up against the Patriots, but, you know, with him, Brian Hoyer, Jimmy G, Jacoby Myers, you know, all the former Patriots, I know that they felt some kind of way about getting that victory.
Yeah, the one thing that still jumps out at me is 1 of 6 in the red zone.
Yeah.
That could be fixed. It has to be fixed.
Has to be fixed.
No matter who the quarterback is, and we'll get to that with Lincoln Kennedy coming up here, but they got to attack the red zone a little bit harder. I think the key is when they get into the red zone, which means 18, 15, 14-yard line, they can't waste a play running it into the pile.
Right.
They're doing that too much.
Right.
And then there's so much pressure on the next two plays to get it into the end zone, and a lot of times they throw short of the end zone.
Exactly. That's the one thing that gets me riled up is when they throw it short and expect somebody to make a play and break a tackle or two to get into the end zone. Throw it into the end zone. That's what they have to get more accustomed to doing.
So it's on to Chicago, and the Raiders have won 2 in a row. Chicago is up in the air because Justin Fields probably won't play. He dislocated his thumb. And we got to sit and wait for the Jimmy G news. You're at every press conference. You'll be there at the end of the week here. And I'm encouraged that he'll go if he can go. I think this is a very important game. If he can't go because something's internal, and we don't know that, we're not trainers and doctors, you got to hold him out. Anything that, from when you talk about spleen, liver, kidney, anything like that, give him a week to heal. But if he's good to go, Jimmy's got to play. He's from there. He can get out there and play a really big game. His family and friends are going to be there. And I think he'd be highly motivated to put on a big show in Chicago.
No, I agree 100%. You could tell by hearing Josh McDaniels on Monday talk that they thought it was a pretty serious injury with Jimmy G. And his words, not mine, they dodged a big bullet. Right, so that was a big deal. So they're going to continue to go through tests. We'll find out at some point this week if he's going to go or not. It'd be great. He still gives the Raiders the best chance to win, in my opinion. And if he can't go, well, then, whoever they feel like gives the best chances, who's going to have to go.
Yeah, and a lot of fans deserve to have the right to voice their opinion on this. But Josh McDaniels says it all the time. The best chance to win. And game plans are different. The game plan against Kansas City is different than Chicago. The game plan for Chicago is different than the one against the Jets. So whatever Coach McDaniels and Patrick Graham believe, give them the best chance to win. We'll see that on Sunday. Coming up next, Lincoln Kennedy, the former All-Pro offensive lineman. He's in the booth with Jason Horowitz. He always has a lot to say as we continue on Raiders Roundtable.
When you're a part of a team, there are expectations. And one of the things I expect from my team is trust. I work hard to win, and I trust my team to work hard too. That's why I feel good about America First Credit Union. They're my financial team, and I trust that they'll always be there for me and my community. I'm Hunter Renfro. Join me in the America First team today.
60 years in the making, the Raiders now have a permanent place to call home, and the doors are open to get a world-class behind-the-scenes tour of their new home. An attraction unlike any other in Las Vegas, Allegiant Stadium. The Las Vegas Raiders invite you to experience the expertly guided tour that includes exclusive access to areas restricted to only football players, coaches, and staff. For more information, visit AllegiantStadium.com/tours.
So the Raiders get the win. They leave Allegiant Stadium, 21-17 victory over the Patriots. And a big part of that win on offense was the rookie, Michael Mayer, who every game seems to be getting more and more involved in the offense. Congratulations, Michael, on a strong game. For you, are you just feeling much more comfortable and Josh McDaniels is rewarding you with a lot of targets?
I think I'm getting more confident every week. Honestly, every day, I'm getting more confident. Every time I go into that facility and we have a practice, a meeting, a lift, anything, I'm getting more confidence with myself. I think the team's getting more confident in me. Coach McDaniels has got more confidence in me. Coach Jerry, the tight ends coach. And really, since the first game of the season, it's kind of been about coming into the facility and trying to be the best version of myself and, stacking days and getting better each day. And obviously, since the first game of the season to this game, I've got tremendously better. So I'm happy about it.
What's going on, my brother James Jones here? Hey, third down is what we call money down. And they came to you a lot on those money downs, man. So it shows some confidence the quarterback had in you. But was that kind of the game plan? Because I seen you split out wide trying to get some one-on-one coverage. Was that kind of the game plan to get you involved in this game?
Yeah, look, we saw a lot of things from the Patriots to where they were going to double guys. They were going to double Tay. They were going to double Cobe. with a safety and cheat them to the one side or cheat them to the other side, things like that. And I think going in, we knew I was going to get single covered and I was going to have some opportunities in the passing game on third down. So that was definitely in the game plan, and we executed it perfectly. It was awesome. It was great to see. It felt great. And I'm really glad that Jimmy has trusted me, and Hoy too, on third down to get me that ball to get a first down.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about the process of getting ready to go up against Bill Belichick. You know, we as a rookie, you hear about what a great defensive coordinator is. Talk to us about the process it took for you this week to get ready for Coach Bill.
Yeah, honestly, I'm trying to be the best player I can be. I said that already, and for me, it's about what am I going to do that's going to help this team and going to help myself, not so much what's the other team going to do. That's kind of where I'm at in the season, where I'm at in my career. It's about us. It's about the Raiders. It's about us not turning the ball over, us not making mistakes, us not having false starts, holding penalties, things like that. That was kind of the entire, memo going into this week, and I think we did a pretty good job of it.
That's Michael Mayer on Raiders Game Day. I don't know if that's a future NFL analyst or a current tight end.
It doesn't sound like a guy that's only been in the league for 6 games.
Absolutely. We bring in the great Lincoln Kennedy. So, Lincoln, let's start with you, as we always do. Big picture on the win. People say it was an ugly win. It was a grinded-out win. You called the game. What do you think of the game overall?
Look, first of all, guys, a win is a win. I don't care if you win by 1 or 31. It's a win. So you take it as it comes. And of course, with the Raiders, it's been far and few between. But now they're on a little bit of a streak. We'll see if they can keep it going. And a part of their schedule where they should contain. Now, as far as what I've seen from the game, it's what I've been saying all along. Sometimes the offensive line has been a liability. And in this case, we don't know the future of Jimmy Garoppolo or how his health is going to be. He's taken far too many hits. So that's got to be an emphasis and a precedent. More importantly, when you have all these interchangeable parts that the offensive line is trying to do and trying to establish a run game, had a little bit more success against the Patriots. But now this is a formula that most teams have taken against the Raiders, and it's probably going to continue all year. I talked to a number of defensive coordinators around the league, and they said, in their opinion, there's no threat of the deep ball. They don't worry about the deep ball with the team because, yes, you've got some qualified guys to do it, but you might not have a quarterback who can connect with it. Now, we did see, Hoyer do a good job with the deep ball in a nice pass, but that was because the defense was overly aggressive. The Patriots defense was overly aggressive with the other receivers. There was no deep safety. There are going to be opportunities. There have been opportunities like that the entire season. It's just the Raiders haven't been able to take advantage of it.
Well, Lincoln, let's go back to the guy that we heard coming in, and that's Michael Mayer, the rookie tight end. And I said that he doesn't sound like a guy that's only been in the league for 6 games. How have you seen him mature so far in the young season?
Well, it's coming. It's still got a little bit of development to go, Q, but he's coming the right way. And look, with this offense, the style of offense they're trying to play, the slot receiver and the tight end are 2 critical parts of it. Now, you've got other dynamic receivers outside, obviously, with Adams and Myers, but you need to utilize the tight end. In this past game, they did. And they've shown signs of it throughout the season, Q and JT. We just need to keep it going. Other guys are going to have to stand up. You can't continue to use, guys as a distraction or just running dummy routes. You have to find a way to get them the football. And if you have to call a play in the huddle that is, on purpose for Mayer, they do it for Devontae. I'm sure they do it for Myers, and they do it for their other guys. You got to make sure that you get all your players involved, just like you do Josh Jacobs when he's trying to run the football.
So, Lincoln, the big elephant in the room is if you leave him in to block, he's not running a route. So what do you do here? Because I know there's times where they leave a tight end to block, or he chipped a few times and still went out on a route. If you leave in a fullback, there's one less player to run a route, one less weapon. Do you think they'll evolve now where Mayer is lining up, as James Jones said, out wide in the slot there, so he's running routes and he's not staying in to block?
Well, first of all, protection is primo. Okay, that's the emphasis. You got to protect first. What I would suggest for the tight ends and the backs, and you've seen it around the league, a nice solid chip. The reason is that typically, guys, I think it's like 4 Mississippi is my internal clock in my head. If I don't have the ball out of my hand after 4 Mississippi, probably going to get sacked, or I need to figure out where I'm going to go run the football. But if those guys stay in the chip and they sneak out to the flat, a lot of times these defenses are pushing back. There's a cushion. You get the ball out quickly. You can probably get some yards that way. And we've also seen sort of the evolution where I've seen chippers and backs kind of sneak out the same way in the same area, where that chipper ends up becoming a blocker down the field like a screen.
Right.
And it's worse. So you've got options. You just need to explore it and be more creative when you're thinking about it.
Lincoln, what did you see in the run game? Josh Jacobs went for about 77 yards. It's only about 3 yards a carry. I don't think it was, the game that he was looking for, but it seems like it's starting to evolve and come together. What have you been seeing from a bird's eye view from the run game?
Well, one thing I did see this past week, Hugh, is the fact that the receivers that are in charge of blocking that safety or digging out that safety in the box, more of a sight adjustment. Garoppolo, the quarterbacks didn't have to bring them over or bring them in with motion. It was a side adjustment. And as long as there's no one else moving, you as a receiver, you have the freedom to do that. But it's important to understand how people are going to treat the possibility of Josh Jacobs running. They know the tendencies the Raiders have, and they wanted to take it away. So on 1st down and 10, you're going to have that extra guy, that 8 man in the box sneaking in. The Raiders did a little bit better job this time digging it out. It also brings up the conundrum or the problem, not necessarily a problem, just an issue of talking about who you've got blocking. Look, the fact is that Thayer Munford is a better man blocker than he is a zone blocker. Jermaine Illuminor is a better zone blocker than he is a man blocker. So you have those interchangeable parts. It's not, I don't think the teams have picked up on it yet, but I will say this. If Thayer Munford comes in at tight end and he's part of that heavy personnel, they're not going to throw him the football.
Right.
And nobody's going to cover him. So even if Thayer Munford didn't block anybody, snuck out to the flat, nobody would cover him. He would probably be wide open. Again, these are things that you have to explore. And the way you keep defenses honest is you exploit their weaknesses. If you're going to overplay this side, I'm going to throw it to the other side. You got to have that tendency or got to have that wherewithal in your arsenal in order to keep teams on their heels rather than giving them the advantage.
Well, guys, through the first 6 games, the Raiders are struggling running the football. 73.5 yards per game. That's 31st overall. The other one that jumps out at me, which is a problem here, is 3.0 yards per attempt. That is last in the NFL, tied with Tampa Bay. And if you look at the 6 weeks, if this was just Josh Jacobs' numbers, 61, 69, 76, 96, 84, you'd be okay maybe with it. But, Lincoln, that's the team's combined rushing. So Zamir White is a non-factor, but I know he can come in and block and give Josh a spell here, but they're not running the ball with authority, which leads me to believe that the offensive line is not as good as they were last year, or they're not playing at the level that they should be playing at. Which is it?
I think it's a little bit of a combination of both. Look, you've got some. The thing is that when you have the amount of success like the Raiders had running the football last year, guys, there are going to be teams that want to take it out. Because if you want to take away the strength of an opposing offense, that's what you do. And I refer back to, Derrick Henry over the past couple of years when he was, having those rushing titles and had all the success running. Look how many times or how many teams committed to just taking them away. Load the box. You're going to have to pass the ball to beat us. The same thing is happening versus the Raiders. They're reloading the box when they think Josh Jacobs is going to get the ball. More importantly, when you show the tendency of bringing in Jakob Johnson or having that heavy personnel, multiple tight end sets, they know that you want to run the ball, push the ball. They're going to load the box. First of all, communication in the line of scrimmage. Who's got whom? Secondly, if there's one block if there's a guy that's unmissed, you have to let the running back know through tutoring and coaching and film study. Have to let the running back know this guy's probably going to be on the backside. You don't have to run away from him. There's a lot of things that you got to do, but it's just making adjustments, and we haven't seen a lot of that being happen yet.
Lincoln, flipping things over to the other side of the ball, the defense, the last 2 games in a row have closed things out, and one with the interception, and then Max Crosby and Bilal Nichols meeting at the quarterback for a safety. What have you seen from that defense that, to me, seems to be the strength of the team right now?
Well, one, they're making plays, Q. I mean, they're making plays when they have to, and they're keeping the team in it. The offense has had its struggles, and for what it's worth, the defense has done. And we haven't said this a lot in the past couple of years. The defense has done its job the best it can be.
Right.
You're not going to keep. It's hard to pitch a shutout in the National Football League. Got to keep in mind those guys on the other side of the field get paid too. So when you have the opportunity to, like in this instance, have a safety secure the win, it's the first time they get over 20 points this season. We weren't expecting this coming into the season. We were hoping that the defense would be better, get turnovers and sacks. I think they've done that. They've still got some work to do to be better at it. But more importantly, we thought the offense was going to be the main juggernaut for this team. And it's not so far. It's the defense.
Yeah, you nailed that, Lincoln, because what I'm finding interesting here is this a conservative defense that's bending, not breaking, and fortunate to get some turnovers? Can this defense be turned up even to a higher notch with the rotation, the aggressive play, safety blitzes, a corner coming off the edge? Or do you like what they're doing now? It's not broke. Don't go out there and fix it. Play this style of defense from what you see in the booth.
I think we've seen an aggressive style of defense, but what I'm concerned about mostly is the cornerbacks, the defensive backs, especially Bennett. I think that he's going to get exposed at times against a superior receiver. Again, they want to take advantage on picking on the rookie. And more importantly, with Tyler Hall playing and for Nate Hobbs, you've got a younger nickel. So a little bit of a difference of thinking for me, JT. You can be aggressive depending on who you're playing. This week against Chicago, I think you can be aggressive with the inexperience at the quarterback, especially the Division II guy. I don't think he likes to run as much. I don't know. But if you can be aggressive and harass him, you can make his day hard if Justin Fields doesn't play.
I wanted to ask you about Trayvon Merrick, the third-year safety. He's come up with a couple interceptions, and he's also just seems like he's around the ball and looks like he's a lot more comfortable, him and Marcus Epps back there. What are you seeing in particular from Merrick?
The type of defense that Patrick Graham is trying to coach is he wants to have a two-eye safety look, and they want the safeties to be able to cover from hash to sideline. And I think Merrick has gotten better than that. Epps is still working on it as well. But here's the thing. Because you can be cautious with these two safeties, you don't have to be overly aggressive. You can have them play the deep field, and that's what you need more to protect. Because if you don't have an equal round of rush. Now, mind you, people are doing their best to take out Max Crosby and make sure that he's not an issue. But you're not blitzing. If you're going to play coverage, you make sure you have those two deep safeties. More importantly, you got to be able to stop the run, because most offensive coordinators, when they see those two deep safeties, think that they can run the ball because you have a soft box.
Yeah, Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, Merrick is playing better. Go ahead.
Josh McDaniels mentioned in the press conference that Max has played. He was asked. He's played every snap for 3 games in a row, and Chandler Jones obviously isn't here, and Tyree Wilson hasn't popped yet. Lincoln, are you concerned about that? Because he's making a run at Defensive Player of the Year. He does not want to come out of the game. The bye week is until week 13. That's a lot of snaps for Max, who seems to be very comfortable in that role.
Well, your second point was the one that's right on. He doesn't want to come out the football game. Yeah. And really, if you're Josh McDaniels, you can't afford to have him come out the football game, because what it comes down to is he is your playmaker. He is your disruptor. That's the equivalent of taking off of a Bosa on one of the other teams, or the equivalent of taking out Junior Seau when he was in his prime. You don't want to lose that, and that energy is it's a type of energy that's contagious. Other guys rise on it and play off of it and feed off of it. More importantly, if the quarterback is always under duress by number 98, he's looking at the rush, not downfield, advantage defense.
Lincoln, you mentioned about a couple of weeks ago, I think you said about the pressure from the interior, and it really hasn't been there. But in this last game, you saw Butler get home. You saw Bilal Nichols get home with Max Crosby. You saw Jenkins get home. How encouraging was it that the defensive tackles all of a sudden became part of the party as well?
Well, it's about time. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to the party.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going up. That offensive line for the Patriots was extremely beat up. And I think they started 2 rookies, or 1 second-year guy and 1 rookie at guard. So you're expected as a pro to abuse them or to use them. I wish it would have been more. I wish it would have been more sacks. And one of these days, one of these games, this defense is going to have a breakout session even more than we saw, guys. And we're going to have this whole team have effect, where the defense is going to feed the energy to the offense and the special teams and vice versa. That perfect triangle. I can't wait to see that.
Let's move on to the Bears, because Max is having an unbelievable year. If you're looking at these stats on YouTube, total tackles 35, tied for second. The pressures are off the charts. And now with Justin Fields with the dislocated thumb, the situation becomes really unique. We don't know if the Bears are going to get super conservative. You would think they'd want to run the ball, shorten the game. And for the Raiders, we don't know, Lincoln, what's going to happen at the quarterback position. As we sit here and record this podcast, we hope that Jimmy can play later in the week. But if he's not able to go, I still think the Raiders have an advantage with their backup quarterbacks against the backup for the Chicago Bears. But it's a road game. It's a hostile environment. It's not going to be a weather game where there's snow and it's freezing cold. But how do you see this coming in here? Because not a lot of the country is looking at this game yet because of the quarterback scenario.
Well, this is a game the Raiders need to have and should have. Looking at it. And the way I quantify it as I get into breaking down the Bears when I'm looking at film this week is the Bears are struggling. They're struggling on both sides of the ball, and they have been all year. And then, of course, their quarterback comes out and says, I want to be more, and he's played like crap and thrown interceptions. He's not even in it. So it's yet to see what's going to happen. But I'm with you, JT and Q. I think they're going to try to slow down the game and try to take it out of their young quarterback's hands and not force them to have to throw the ball a whole lot of times. Run the football, see if you could pound the Raiders. The Raiders have given up some runs before. We'll see how the Raiders run defense is going to be tested this weekend.
So would you think that Patrick Graham has a different approach, or does he continue to do what he does?
I think you continue to do what you do because it's worked.
Right.
But this is an opportunity, and I think in this game, especially with the injuries they have on offense at quarterback, I think that you can experiment a few more. Throw a few things out there. Give offenses enough to something else to work on. Maybe have your linebackers walk to the outside of the line and have a linebacker dog or crash like that. I mean, there are things that you can get or do to experiment-wise to see. It might be something you might want to try out later, but also you give offenses to prepare for, as long as you're taking care of business. Winning on first down, getting off the field, not giving up long stretches of drives, because it can be a very long day for the defense if they're not careful.
If it is Tyson Bagent, undrafted rookie from Shepherd University, and check this out, the all-time leader in NCAA history in touchdowns. All time.
Wow.
159. I almost fell off the couch when I screenshot that on SportsCenter.
Yeah.
His father, Travis, is a 28-time world champion arm wrestler. Tough kid there, but again, there's no tape on him, Lincoln. Justin Fields came to Allegiant Stadium and beat the Raiders because he ran. He was mobile.
Yes.
And even more so, this is just my opinion, than Jalen Hurts, because the Raiders beat Jalen Hurts. They lost to Justin Fields. If you don't get Justin Fields down in the first 5-10 yards, he's going 30. He will run over safeties.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about Tyson Bagent yet, how he is running the ball if you don't get him down early. But do the Raiders want to force him into a passing game? Just hope that he wants to take shots, because I agree with you. I think they want to shorten the game and run the football. That means the Raiders are going to load the box, try to kind of take the running game away, and maybe this kid could be dangerous outside the pocket.
Look, I don't know the young man, but I know this. Whenever you have a new quarterback who's come in and you don't have a whole lot of film on him, even if you go back to preseason, you want to harass him. You want to make it difficult. You want to get after him and antagonize him so much to where he's nervous, he's rattled, or he makes some bad decisions. That's how you get turnovers. That's how you get miscues, and that's how you win on defense. I would do it with any young quarterback. I would do it with a rookie quarterback. I don't care where they were drafted. I'm going to harass you until you prove to me that you can show up and that you can handle the pressure, because I want to make it hard on you.
JT mentioned earlier that Tyree Wilson hasn't popped yet. What have you seen from Tyree? Is this a game that he can maybe take advantage of and get a little bit closer, or maybe even get his first NFL sack?
Q, you and I have talked about this. I still believe the guy just needs reps.
Yeah.
I mean, he made a play in this past game. I think he was on 2 tackles. I don't have the stats open in front of me. But, he's made a couple plays. He's coming along. It's going to take time. The thing is that Tyree Wilson, until they started flopping Max Crosby back and forth, Tyree was playing what are considered the best offensive linemen in the league. We're talking about the left tackles. And if the left tackles don't have their stuff to stand up, then they're probably not going to be in the league that long.
Right.
So understanding that you're a rookie going on, look, when I was playing, if I was going up against a rookie, I'm slobbering at the mouth. Oh, this is going to be a lesson that you thought you would never learn. I don't care what level that you played on. You haven't played on this level. So I'm going to do things to you that I never thought, you probably never even heard of or never thought could happen, just to try to throw you off your game and get in your mind. So along with Tyree Wilson, just like Bennett, you're going to have to take your reps. You're going to take your lumps. You're going to get beat up. You're going to get beat. But what do you do? The resiliency, the level. What do you learn? I remember talking with my sons when they were playing balls. I said, there are 3 rules that you have to stand by. First of all, you never let them see you tired. 2, you never get beat by the same move twice. And 3, you always give your best effort because your team is depending on you. That's what is the key to success that more people need to do, more guys need to do, and the team would be better. But right now, with a rookie and like you're talking about with Tyree Wilson, you got to understand this. He's going to take his lumps. He's going to get handled. And it's up to him to grow from it as the season progresses.
All right, this is called Raiders Roundtable for a reason. I'm going to start with you, Q. If Jimmy can't go, who plays quarterback, considering you want to see more out of Aiden O'Connell? You got to see what he can do, but Brian Hoyer's coming off a win where he played well.
At 3-3, I'm going with Brian Hoyer. I really am. I think that he gives them the best opportunity as a veteran, and especially going up against a guy that hasn't had any kind of burn in the league, right? If Justin Fields isn't able to go, I think that Brian Hoyer gives them the best opportunity right now. And they're sitting at 3-3, as 13 teams in the league are. It's a good opportunity for the Raiders to go in there and get a victory.
Lincoln?
I'm the same way. I think Hoyer. Look, Aiden O'Connell is going to be good in the future, but what we saw last time, his first start, is that he had a little bit of a slow clock. This offensive line is still a work in progress, in my opinion. The protection issue is still a work in progress, in my opinion. I think the experience of Hoyer, understanding the offense, understanding how to read the defenses, will give you a better advantage to win this football game.
I agree with you both. I think it's too important of a game.
Yep.
You got to stack wins. Got to stack wins. The Giants and the Jets are looming. There's a game with Denver at home. The Chargers just lost. We get the Chargers at home.
Yep.
Minnesota is 2-4. And there's another one quick one. This trade deadline is real.
Yeah.
Okay? Let me just tell you something. Younger GMs, Lingen, and final opinion on this, younger GMs are not like the guys who helped build the league who never made trades. The Raiders had the greatest trade of all time with Mike Haynes.
Right.
It led to a Super Bowl. I think that there are players on the Raiders who could get traded, and the Raiders and Dave Ziegler could go get players that are out there. Kirk Cousins is the biggest name out there.
Right.
If they're 2-4, if they don't win in the next couple of weeks, the trade deadline is on October 31st. Lincoln, final thoughts on the trade deadline and possibly some players potentially coming here, because everyone's talking about who could leave. The Raiders are in a really good spot to keep winning if they bring in more players.
Well, I agree with you, but it's going to be hard. And how much are you willing to give up if you're going to trade? Look, for what it's worth, Kirk Cousins has a no trade clause in his contract. He would have to waive that in order for it to happen. And who knows what that's going to hold. You can't necessarily hold your breath when you think about where we are in the month and where the trade deadline's coming up. But I've said it to a number of people. There's not a qualified right tackle that's just sitting out there and doesn't have a job, or and if you have to give up a ton of draft capital, what are we looking at for next year, guys? We're probably going to have to go out and draft a quarterback. You're going to have to draft a number of playmakers. Don't want to give up too much draft capital if you can avoid it.
Absolutely. The great Lincoln Kennedy. Link, we'll see you. I'll see you. I'm going to Chicago. I'll see you out there. It's going to be a good trip. Hopefully another Raider win. There's Lincoln Kennedy.
I hope so, too.
See you, Link. Great job
Great
as
stuff.
always. Yeah, he covers it all. He's fantastic here. And the Raiders have a lot happening here. And the key is...
I got a quick name for you real quick if you want, just for fun. You mentioned Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. If they keep losing, I'm looking at Danielle Hunter in Minnesota. I think that he would be a hell of a addition to the Raiders' defensive line to complement Max Crosby.
And I didn't mention Kirk Cousins to bring him here.
Right.
I'm just saying that
Minnesota's struggling.
Yeah, if the Vikings come in here or some of the teams down the stretch and they're really in duress, the Raiders are going to be able to knock down some more wins. When we come back, we'll look ahead at the schedule. And how about that Chargers loss on Monday Night Football to the Cowboys and how that sets up the AFC West the rest of the way? This is Raiders Roundtable.
When you're a part of a team, there are expectations. And one of the things I expect from my team is trust. I work hard to win, and I trust my team to work hard too. That's why I feel good about America First Credit Union. They're my financial team, and I trust that they'll always be there for me and my community. I'm Hunter Renfro. Join me in the America First team today.
You're listening to Upon Further Review. I'm your host, Eddie Pascal.
Good morning, Raider Nation.
Welcome to Raiders Roundtable. JT along with Q Myers.
He dissects the play quickly and makes the move to the football.
Welcome back to Raiders Roundtable, presented by America First Credit Union. Q Myers, we thank Lincoln Kennedy, who just joined us. Now we jump into the AFC West, where Kansas City was able to beat Denver in that game. Russell Wilson, 13 completions, 95 passing yards. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought Sean Payton was there to fix this. It doesn't look like it's fixable.
Right.
That is an elephant giant story in the league on how they're going to figure this out eventually, because the cap hit is a monster and Kansas City won easily.
And it felt like that Sean Payton kind of threw that out there before the season when he started, throwing dirt at Nathaniel Hackett and the organization and saying that this was such a work in progress. I felt like he was kind of throwing that out there just in case what's happening right now happened, where he wasn't able to get Russell Wilson and this team, because it hasn't all been on Russ. This team just has not been very good. And for the most part, the defense hasn't been very good. They were better against Kansas City, but ultimately they're just not good enough. This is not a very good team in the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, the big issue is that they gave up a lot in draft equity to get him. If
exactly.
it was just a free agent
and a ton
contract,
of money.
Yeah, if it was just a free agent contract,
right.
Okay, you got to deal with the cap hit.
Right.
But you make a move. But what about the draft equity that they lost along the way? And Mahomes did it again. He was 30 of 40, 306, a touchdown, an interception. He ran it 31 yards. He knows how to win games, especially against inferior opponents. But the Chiefs only scored 19 points in this game. That offense wasn't clicking the way we're used to.
It hasn't really done that all season. I really would be shocked if they weren't players by the trade deadline. I think that they got to go out and make a move for a playmaker. I think that they will, just because they have Travis Kelce, and we know he's a little banged up, but outside of that, it just seems like the other guys.
You're right, and players want to get traded to Kansas City.
Right.
Because of the way they're playing and where they're set up here. I could do a full podcast on the Denver scenario for all the talking heads who got it wrong, who didn't do their homework, thought that their roster was great. The biggest mistake everybody made who predicted Denver was going to the playoffs and deep is they didn't know the roster.
Right.
They just thought Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, like two movie stars in a movie. You got two A-list movie stars, and the movie's going to be great. No, the rest of the cast wasn't good enough. So they're in a boatload of trouble in Denver. Now we go to the Chargers on Monday Night Football and losing to Dallas. I thought that was critical because if the Chargers won the game, they could lose to Kansas City this weekend and be 3-3, same record as the Raiders, and they have a good roster. They're going to figure out some of it. If they lose at Kansas City on a short week to go to 2-4, I think they're finished. I don't think they can recover with that coach and dig out of a 2-4 hole in the AFC, let alone the AFC West. So the Chargers are in a really tough spot here.
They really are. And watching that game, it just didn't seem like Justin Herbert was 100% himself or the guy that he was expected to be. There were still some questionable decisions that the coach made that I didn't think were great decisions at the time. And, Dallas comes up with a big play at the end to seal the deal. But it wasn't a great game played by the Chargers for sure.
Austin Eckler was back.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen's unbelievable. They had Derwin James. They had Bosa. They had Khalil Mack, who had an early sack in the game. They were pretty much at full strength. Mike Williams isn't there. But that's as good of a Chargers team as you'll see. And they could have won that game.
Yeah.
I mean, Chargers had the ball late. But I thought it was a huge opportunity for Dallas, too, because Dallas was embarrassed by the 49ers.
Yeah.
And they did it. And, of course, a lot of their fans were there at SoFi.
Yeah, of course. Their fans are going to fill up SoFi Stadium there. The Chargers just don't have a home field advantage at all there. That's just how it is. But, yeah, Dallas needed that win bad after getting embarrassed by the 49ers on Sunday Night Football. They made some plays. But, again, I'll go back to the Chargers. There was a couple plays towards right around the goal line that I thought they should have kicked a field goal and scored some points. And instead they went for it aggressively like Brandon Staley always does. And Dallas, to their credit, came up with some big defensive plays.
Look, I give a lot of credit, along with a lot of other people, with Justin Herbert. I think he's a generational talent. He has an unbelievable skill set, but he loses a lot of games.
Yeah.
And some of these losses are on him, and it's not on the overall team. You can make excuses, injuries.
Right.
He doesn't have a full strength of the roster, but I thought that loss was on him last night. He could have made some bigger throws. He was running for his life most of the game.
Yeah.
And then this interception that closed out the game, that was all on him.
No, it was. And a lot of it had to do with the pressure. I mean, he had 18 pressures all night long, right? I mean, he had the Cowboys in his grill, and, they only got one sack, but Micah Parsons came up big at the end and with a couple big plays, and he threw that ill-advised pass. He was trying to target Quentin Johnston, and Stephon Gilmore, shocking, the veteran, comes up with a big play.
They've played well, the Chargers, against Kansas City at times. They could win the game.
Yeah.
I doubt it, but as we look at the AFC West and the standings here, Kansas City head and shoulders above everyone else until they get knocked off.
Right.
5-1, they get the Chargers. The Raiders, if they win at Chicago, I expect they will, to go to 4-3. If the Chargers lose that game, they're 2-4, and Denver's long gone.
Right.
It's a big weekend.
Yeah.
The Raiders cannot afford to go 3-4, and if the Chargers win, they're 3-3 ahead of the Raiders here. A monster opportunity again for the Silver and Black to take care of business.
And that's why you can never apologize for a win, right? I mean, some people get upset because, well, it wasn't a pretty win. Who cares? It's a win. The teams that are below the Raiders right now would love to get an ugly win because they're struggling, especially the Broncos. They're struggling. But this is a great opportunity this week coming up against Chicago for the Raiders to go and get a stranglehold of that second place right there in the AFC West. And as we said, the Chiefs aren't playing great. I mean, look, I'd rather not be playing great and be 5-1, but they're still not playing fantastic like Kansas City Chiefs ball that we're used to seeing.
Q, let's take a look at the next four ahead for the Raiders, and everybody's staring at Detroit.
Yeah.
So let me just mention this because we'll do this next week. What the Raiders are trying to do with Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler is become Detroit. And I got to check myself before I say that because Detroit's been awful our entire life.
Of course.
Our entire life.
Of course.
So if they could make the leap and Miami could make the leap, and Miami wasn't very good the last 4 or 5 years, the Raiders need to make the same progress that we're seeing with other teams. So the Chicago game, very important. Got to focus. Don't look ahead to Detroit.
Right.
The Detroit game's going to be tough because Detroit's selling out their stadium. Their fans are desperate for wins. And then after that, the Giants and the Jets. Man, the Giants they were better than the Bills.
They were.
In
Absolutely.
Buffalo.
Absolutely.
They made some bonehead decisions with clock. And then the Jets Jets are better than you and I thought maybe 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Jets are going to be a hard out here at Allegiant Stadium because of that defense.
There's no doubt. The defense, the run game, and Zach Wilson is playing just good enough. He's not playing great. He's not playing lights out. He's playing good enough, knowing what else he's working with, which is a strong run game and a heavy defense.
Yeah, as we wrap this up, I want to say this again. This whole organization hopes that Jimmy G is better.
Yeah.
We don't know what's happening yet. We're going to find out more and more. And, when you go to a hospital and you're a player and you're getting checked out, the whole organization stops and they protect and think about the player. So we want to make sure that Jimmy Garoppolo is doing great, no matter if he plays or not. But the Raiders got to go to Chicago, Q. They got to play a better game.
Yeah.
They can't keep winning these ugly games and just hope that the defense tips the ball late in the game and they close it out.
Right.
No matter who's at quarterback, play a better game. If the run offense is going to show up, open it up for Josh. Should this be the game, he gets 130 on the ground,
right?
125, and that could be the difference with the win.
It really could be. Carlson was 4 for 4 on field goals on Sunday. I want to see him 4 for 4 on extra points. That's what I want to see, right? I mean, that's what it ultimately boils down to. You get to the red zone 6 times, you've got to score more than 1 touchdown. That's how you're going to win games, and you got to start doing it against teams you expect to win, like Chicago, and then you worry about a team like Detroit the next week.
For Q Myers and Lincoln Kennedy, I'm JT. Thanks for always joining us on Raiders Roundtable.